Welcome to Der Hair for Kids. Join us as we explore the fascinating lives of our Rebbeim. This episode is dedicated to the Tzeirei Hashluchim of the Rebbe, to University of Illinois, Urbana, Champaign, Menachem and Mussia, Sheyichyu, Tiechtel. Our story takes us back many years ago to a melamed, a teacher of children named Reb Avraham, and his wife, Rebbe Chava. Both Reb Avraham and his wife Rebbe Chava were very, very careful to do the mitzvahs in the best way possible, even when it was very challenging. Hashem saw how careful they were when doing mitzvahs and rewarded them with a son with a very special neshama, whom they named Dovber. One day, when Dovber was a small boy, his parents suddenly smelled something burning in their house. It didn't take long before they heard shouting, "Fire! There's a fire in the house! Fire! Fire! There's a fire in the house! Run for your lives!" Quickly, they found a way out of the house. "Baruch Hashem, everyone is safe," Dovber heard his parents say. They stood together safely outside their house and watched it burn down to the ground. Dovber's parents began to cry bitterly. "Tati, Mommy, why are you crying so much?" "Better you. We aren't crying because of our house that we have just lost, although that is sad. We're crying for a different reason. In our house, we had a special book in which was written our family tree, tracing our family all the way back to the great Tana Reb Yochanan HaSandlar, who was a descendant of David HaMelech. And now that our house burnt down, we have lost the special book forever. That is why we're crying." Little Dovber comforted his parents and said, "I promise you, my dear parents, that one day when I grow up, I will become a great Talmid Chacham, and we will then create a new family tree, beginning with me." As little Dovber promised his parents, he indeed grew up and became a great Talmid Chacham. People from all over began to hear about Reb Dovber's knowledge of Torah. "You know, Getzel, that there is a great Talmid Chacham in the town of Mezrich, named Reb Dovber. I heard that there is not one sefer to be found that Reb Dovber did not learn through 101 times cover to cover."
"Shmerel, can that really be true? Mussia is a größer Talmid Chacham. He must be a great Talmid Chacham. I wish there was even one sefer that I learned through 100 times.
"Getzel, is there any sefer that you learned through even one time?"
"Sure, Mavoi Lekriya."
Reb Dovber was offered to serve as a Rav in many different cities, but he turned down all of the offers, since he did not want to be a Rav. Instead, Reb Dovber became a melamed, a teacher of children. Usually, teachers get paid for their work. That is how they are able to feed their families. But Reb Dovber did not want to get paid for teaching Torah, as he felt it was not the right thing to do. Instead, he taught the children for free, while his wife made a very small amount of money from small jobs that she did. As a result, Reb Dovber and his wife lived very poorly in a small, broken-down house in the town of Mezrich. Unfortunately, Reb Dovber suffered from health issues in his legs. Every year he would travel to the city of Carlsbad, where sick people would bathe in the waters there, as the waters of Carlsbad were known to be healing to different illnesses. On the way to Carlsbad, Reb Dovber would stop off and spend some time at the home of the great tzaddik Reb Yaakov Yeshua Falk, Rav of Frankfurt and author of the Sefer Pnei Yeshua, to spend time and discuss Torah with him. The Pnei Yeshua would bring up the topic of the Baal Shem Tov because it was during that period of time that people from all over started hearing about the Baal Shem Tov and his new way of serving Hashem. But whenever he did that, Reb Dovber would speak about why he doesn't agree with the Baal Shem Tov's teachings. One of the Baal Shem Tov's most famous Talmidim was the tzaddik Reb Yaakov Yosef of Polnoa. author of the Sefer Toldos Yaakov Yosef. The Baal Shem Tov once wrote to him, I heard that you had a debate with the Gaon Reb Dovber, that you tried to convince him to travel to me, and that he is not interested. You should not debate him, as the time is not yet right, but I assure you that Reb Dovber will soon become my Talmud with Hashem's help. One day, the Pnei Yeshua was giving a shiur, a Torah class to his Talmidim in his yeshiva, when a wagon pulled up in front of the Beis Medrash. Inside the wagon was a man and his assistant, or shamish. The shamish approached the room where the Pnei Yeshua was teaching and said, Rebbe, there's a man sitting in the wagon outside who requests that the Rav should please come out to speak with him. The man has a secret, urgent matter to discuss with the Rav. The Pnei Yeshua replied, My dear shamish, I am in the middle of teaching Torah, and I cannot stop the learning of these Yidden by leaving the room, since that would be bittul Torah. Tell the man to sit in the Beis Medrash until I finish the shiur, and then we can speak. The shamish begged, Rebbe, this matter is so important that it even comes before communal Torah learning. The Pnei Yeshua turned to his students. My dear Talmidim, I apologize. I need to go outside for just a short while. I'll be right back. With those words, the Pnei Yeshua followed the shamish outside to meet the man sitting in the wagon. The Pnei Yeshua greeted the man. Shalom Aleichem, Rebbe. What is the important matter that you must discuss with me? The man replied, The Rav should know that the Sheichet, who shechts the meat for all the Yidden in this city, has been feeding everyone treifa meat for over 10 years. As soon as you finish the shiur, send for the Sheichet, and you will see he will admit on his own what he is doing. The man's words shocked the Pnei Yeshua. But before the Pnei Yeshua could even say, What is your name? The wagon pulled out of the Beis Medrash and sped off, leaving the shocked Pnei Yeshua to wonder who this person was. Ah, this person must be the Baal Shem Tov, who found this all out through Ruach HaKodesh. The Pnei Yeshua went back to his Talmidim and continued his shiur. But as soon as the shiur was over, he called out to his shamish, Please go to the town Sheichet and tell him that I command him to come to my room at once. Yes, Rebbe, said the shamish. A few moments later, the Sheichet was standing before the Pnei Yeshua. I am here, Rebbe. Tell me something, Reb Sheichet. This meat that you are feeding us for the last 10 years, is it kosher? How do you prepare it? To the Pnei Yeshua's surprise, instead of denying that anything was wrong, the Sheichet immediately began to apologize and told the Rav about how he tricked everyone into thinking that he was giving them perfectly kosher meat, when in fact it was treif. The Pnei Yeshua was amazed. He thought to himself, So the holy Baal Shem Tov has just saved my entire town from continuing to eat non-kosher meat. Unbelievable. A few months later, on one fine day, the Pnei Yeshua was again teaching his Talmidim in his Beis Medrash. Again, the same shamish appeared at the door, saying that his master would like to speak with the Pnei Yeshua. This time around, the Pnei Yeshua immediately went outside. He thought to himself, It's the man in the wagon, the same man that told me about the Sheichet last time. This must be the Baal Shem Tov. The man in the wagon said, When the Gaon Reb Dovber will come again to stay in your house, tell him in my name that his legs will not be healed until he comes to me. And with that, the wagon quickly left, just as it had the last time. Sure enough, a few months later, Reb Dovber came again to stay at the Pnei Yeshua's house on his way to Karlsbad. During his stay, the Pnei Yeshua told Reb Dovber the entire story and said, This man is most definitely the Baal Shem Tov. I suggest you travel to him right away. It is definitely worth your while. The Baal Shem Tov sent Reb Dovber a letter for the first time, in which, among other things, he wrote, "I have received word that you have decided to come and learn from me. But I understand that you are still unsure about whether or not you should come. I ask you, please, don't believe those who are spreading lies about me. Please come to visit me just one time to discuss and debate matters. If after you visit me you are not satisfied, then of course you can choose not to stay. But I am aware that not only will you eventually become my student, but I also know that you are the one who Hashem has chosen to spread my teachings. I am looking forward to seeing you in my home." Reb Dovber wrote back a few letters, in which he wrote, "I received your letter, and in another few days I will come to visit you. I must admit that I was very impressed with your student, the tzaddik Reb Menachem of Horodenka, and I am thinking to myself, if Reb Menachem is such a great tzaddik, then surely his Rebbe is an even greater tzaddik. Reb Menachem breathed within me a spirit of kedusha." Sometime later, Reb Dovber again wrote to the Baal Shem Tov, "I am currently not feeling well, so I will remain here for Shabbos, and after Shabbos I will come to you. I am getting the feeling that my opposition that I had to you in the past was a great mistake. May Hashem forgive me." Reb Dovber finally made his way to the Baal Shem Tov in Mezhbuzh. After 2 days of traveling, Reb Dovber thought to himself, "When I was home, I was able to learn undisturbed. And now, on the road, it's so much more difficult to learn Torah. What a pity I decided to travel. I should have stayed home. Oh well." After a long and difficult journey, Reb Dovber finally made it to Mezhbuzh. Reb Dovber thought to himself, "I hope that the Baal Shem Tov will teach me Torah, because that would at least make this difficult trip worthwhile." The Shamish told Reb Dovber, "The Rebbe will see you now." Reb Dovber came into the Baal Shem Tov's room. To his disappointment, the Baal Shem Tov began to tell him a story that seemed to be quite random and irrelevant to him. "Once I traveled on the road for a few days, and I had to find food to feed my goyish balagola, wagon driver. Suddenly, I met a goy who had a sack of bread with him, so I bought the sack of bread from him to give my wagon driver." The Baal Shem Tov was trying to use this strange story to hint something very deep to Reb Dovber. The problem was that Reb Dovber didn't understand what the Baal Shem Tov was trying to teach him. He thought to himself, "What is this? I came to learn Torah, not to hear stories about wagon drivers." The next day, the Baal Shem Tov told Reb Dovber another story about how he didn't have food for his horses, and so on. Again, Reb Dovber didn't understand what the Baal Shem Tov was trying to tell him. "I've had enough of this. This visit was one big mistake. I'm leaving. What a terrible waste of time this was. What a pity." He came back to the hotel where he was staying, and he said to his assistant, "I would have loved to leave this town right now, but since it's already nighttime, we'll have to rest either until the morning or until the moon shines in the sky enough for us to travel. As soon as it gets light enough, we're leaving." It was midnight, and Reb Dovber was getting ready to leave Mezhbuzh when there was a knock at the door. "Who is it?" "It's the Shamish of the Baal Shem Tov. The Rebbe wants to see you." Reb Dovber made his way to the Baal Shem Tov's room. The Baal Shem Tov asked him, "Do you know how to learn Torah?" Reb Dovber replied, "Yes." The Baal Shem Tov said, "That is what I've heard about you. Do you know how to learn Kabbalah?" Reb Dovber said, "Yes." The Baal Shem Tov asked the Shamish, "Please bring me the Sefer of Kabbalah called Eitz Chaim." The Shamish brought the Sefer, and the Baal Shem Tov turned to a particular page. The Baal Shem Tov asked, "Reb Dovber, can you explain to me what this passage of Eitz Chaim means?" Reb Dovber replied, Let me study this for a little bit, and I will explain it to you. Reb Dovber looked over the Sefer and explained the piece as he understood it. But the Baal Shem Tov told him, "You don't know anything." Reb Dovber looked at it again and told the Baal Shem Tov, "The way I explained it before is correct. If you feel that you have a different way of understanding this passage, by all means, please share it with me, and we'll decide whose explanation is the correct one." The Baal Shem Tov said, "Please stand up on your feet." And Reb Dovber stood up. The Baal Shem Tov began to read the piece of Eitz Chaim out loud. Reb Dovber thought to himself, "The Baal Shem Tov is reading and explaining it exactly as I did. But now there is a tremendous light filling the room. A special fire is surrounding us. All of the Malachim that the Baal Shem Tov is reading about are appearing in the room. I can see them in real life. I have never experienced such a thing in my entire life." When the Baal Shem Tov finished explaining the Eitz Chaim, and this otherworldly experience was over, he turned to Reb Dovber and said, "You explained the Eitz Chaim correctly, but your explanation was lifeless, without neshama. This is the way it needs to be learned." Reb Dovber walked out of the Baal Shem Tov's room, transformed by the experience. "That's it. I'm convinced that the Baal Shem Tov's way of serving Hashem is the correct one." Reb Dovber walked back to the place where he was staying and told his shamish, "I have changed my plans. You can go back home on your own. I will stay here for a while to learn Torah from my Rebbe, the Baal Shem Tov." And that is exactly what happened. Sometime later, the Baal Shem Tov instructed Reb Dovber to again travel to Karlsbad in order to heal his feet. This happened about 1 year after Reb Dovber first met the Baal Shem Tov. Reb Dovber traveled to Karlsbad, and as was his custom, he again made a stop at the home of the Pnei Yeshua. During his visit, Reb Dovber told the Pnei Yeshua about how great the Baal Shem Tov is, saying that the Baal Shem Tov was on the level of the Tanoim, the Chachamim who wrote the Mishnah, who lived about 1,500 years before. The Pnei Yeshua asked Reb Dovber, "You are praising the Baal Shem Tov so much. What happened to all of your questions and disagreements you had regarding his path of serving Hashem?" Reb Dovber replied, "All those questions that I had can only be asked if the Baal Shem Tov is a person just like anyone else. Now that I have come to know the Baal Shem Tov, I can tell you that it is hard for me to believe that he is even a person. He is literally like a malach of Hashem. His understanding is so far beyond what we can understand. It is impossible to ask questions on such a person." What would the relationship between the Baal Shem Tov and his student Reb Dovber be like? And what would be Reb Dovber's life's work? To find out, please stay tuned for the next episode of The Hair for Kids. Thank you for listening to The Hair for Kids, where we explore the fascinating lives of our Rebbe.